And now we can swivel the screen 30 degrees to the left, as well as 30 degrees to the right. And we can also swivel it 15 degrees up and 15 degrees down. Hi there, and welcome to Tlyard, and welcome to my Tesla Model 3. In the Model S and X, they have a screen that can rotate. But in my Model 3, this screen is totally rigid. But there are solutions to get the screen in my Model 3 to be rotatable. And one of those solutions is a screen rotation bracket. And in this case, it's from EvBase, and they were kind enough to send me one for review. So I'm going to show you what comes in the box and how to install it in my Model 3. So let's do it. It's quite a simple box, a little bit beaten up after it's traveled to Iceland. It simply says screen rotation bracket, and it's for the Tesla Model 3 and Tesla Model Y. On the back of the box, we can see an illustration. It shows that we can rotate the screen 30 degrees to the left, 30 degrees to the right, and 15 degrees up and down. So that's really good. Not all screen rotation kits allow you to rotate the screen up and down as well. So that's the box. So let's see what we got in the box. So we got this welcome notice from EvBase, really nice. And then this foam padding, and inside here we have all the things that we need. We have the actual rotation bracket, which is probably quite difficult to rotate. Well, I can rotate it a little bit, but it's really stiff, which is really good because the screen is quite heavy and it should be able to support the screen while rotating, and it shouldn't rotate that easily. So that's the bracket. Then we have this plastic cover here that we need to replace for the OEM cover. And this includes the cover for the heat sensor, and I think this one is for my Model 3. I see that we have another one here, and I think this one is for the older Model 3s. But we'll see. Then we have this little plastic piece as well. Let's see what that is. Yep, this is yet another bracket. So this one in the end goes into this one, so it's covering up the metal. Really nice. And lastly, we have a lot of tools that we need to use to set this up. So let's see what we got. We got I will call it a start tool. That's probably for some of the screws that we need to loosen up. Another start tool that is a little bit smaller, a very tiny screwdriver, and some other tools. And this one is a 10mm one, and this one is a little bit smaller, but we'll see what we need to use. We have some more tools here. This one is to use to get some panels off, but I might use a different one because this one is metal and we might damage the panels if we use the metal one, but let's see. And lastly, we have some screws and bolts. So we have 2 bolts and then 2 screws, and we'll see when we have to use these in the process. So these were all the things that we got in the box. So let's start putting this together. So before we start messing with the display, I recommend powering off the car. We simply do that by clicking the car icon, go to safety, scroll all the way down here, and here we have the power off menu, and click power off here. And the screen turns off. The first thing we need to do is to remove this panel here, and we use the tool that came with the kit, and we simply have to put the tool inside here and pull it out. Let's see if that goes out. Yep, that went out. And we see here that we have a cable connected here, and this is the temperature sensor. We don't have to disconnect the temperature sensor. We can simply screw the temperature sensor out of this bracket, and to do that we can use the small star screw tool that we got with the kit. One out, and that's loose. So let's keep this bracket if we want to put the original screen bracket back on. So we don't want to lose the screw for the temperature sensor. So now that we have removed the bracket, we have access to the 10mm bolts that hold the screen, and we can use the tool that came with the kit to loosen these bolts. First one out. And the other one loose. And we should keep these bolts because we're going to use those again when we put the rotation bracket on. So these were the only bolts holding the screen. So the next thing is to take the screen off. So before you remove the screen, I would recommend having something soft down here like a microfiber cloth, so you won't scratch the screen when you place the screen down here. So let's loosen up the screen, and we should be able to wiggle it a little bit to get it loose. So just like this. Don't be too hard on it. Just a little wiggle and it should loosen up. Get loose on this side and loose on this side. And then I can just place it on my microfiber cloth so it doesn't scratch up. So the next thing is to disconnect the screen, but this bracket is kind of in the way. So let's remove that bracket first so we can access the cable for the screen easier. So now we use the larger star tool and we just place it down here and loosen up these screws, and they're actually not that fastened. Really easy to loosen up. So the first screw out and the second one down here, and we see that this is now loose. Just keep the screw. So now this panel is loose, so we can lift it away and we have better access to the screen cable. So we have this white bracket here around the cable that holds it in place. So let's remove that first, and we can simply grab on each side here and it should loosen up. So this one is away. We need to keep on to this one because we're going to use it again. And then we have a little tip down here that we're going to press to lift up the screen cable. Just wiggle it a little bit. Might want to use the screwdriver to help you out. You see this little tip here? It needs to go in while you drag the cable up. So let's use the screwdriver to help us. And there it went out. Took a little time, but we have the screen loose. So let's remove the screen from the view. And now we can remove this bracket because we don't need that anymore. So now we remove the screen. It's just resting here on our microfiber cloth. We can place the rotation bracket into the original mounts on the Tesla. So we simply place them here. So the holes line up under here. And then we use the original bolts that were in the screen previously to fasten the bracket. So now we can simply use the same tool as we used to remove the bolts to place the bolts again to the new rotation bracket. We might need to rotate this part to access the holes better. And let's place the first bolt. And before we fasten this one properly, let's put the other one in. It's better to tighten it well so it doesn't get loose. So that's fastened and it can rotate. That's awesome. So the next thing we need to do is to put this bracket on, and we first have to slide this thing off. This is for the temperature sensor, so let's put that away. So we need to feed both cables, the screen cable and the temperature sensor, through here like this, and then simply feed this through here. And then simply feed it through somehow like this. We might need to rotate like this, and then this goes like here, and just take your time placing it. I don't have the camera view here, but there are some brackets, some clips down here that need to go in. So that's fastened. So now that we've placed this cover on, we have to fasten it with 2 screws that came with the kit and the smaller star tool to fasten them. So let's do that. It's a little bit stiff, so I got my screwdriver. Works a little bit better. And this is in place. So now we fasten this piece. The next thing is to thread the cables into this bracket that came with the kit. And this kit can only be placed in one way on the display. If we try to put it like this, it won't fit. So we know it's supposed to be like this, but let's thread the cables through it first, or the screen cable, so we have better access to connect the screen again. So move the screen up a little bit. So we fasten the screen the same way as we took it out. We just put it down here and try to hear a click like that. We heard a little click. I'm not sure you heard it, but the screen is fastened. So now we just have to place the plastic clip again that secures the screen connector. Put that back down. Should slide down here. It has been secured on this side. Stubbornness going on here. So like this. It's not going anywhere. So next up is to place this plastic piece on the back of the screen. And it, as I said, it only fits one way. And we use the same screws that were already there for the other bracket. And now we use the bigger star tool to place these screws. So let's do that. That's fastened, and the second screw on the other side. And those are in place, and the bracket is fastened. So the next step is to thread the screen onto the rotation bracket, and then we screw the screen fastened. So let's do that. Lift it up and thread it in like this. And now we have to use the screws that came with the kit to fasten the screen on the rotation bracket. Now I simply have to place the bolts. Just have to find the correct placement. A little bit difficult to get to these bolts. So sorry about the video there when I was trying to get the bolts in. It was just quite difficult to get the bolts in with the camera gear and everything there. But as you can see, both the bolts are in on both sides. So the screen has been fastened properly on the rotation bracket. And now it's just placing the temperature sensor on the bracket that came with the kit. And we should place it so we can align the holes with the holes on the bracket. And we simply use the same screws that the temperature sensor was fastened before. And it's a little bit difficult to show you. It's a tight space here. They use the tiny screwdriver that came with the kit and just screw it in like this on this side, and the same on the other side. This was not right. Okay, just showing you my mistakes as well. Putting the screw in and using the tiny screwdriver again to screw it in like this. See if the other one is tight enough. Yep. And now we just have to put this panel back up, and you see these tiny slots here, and those are going down. So this goes up. So we have to feed it up here and slide it down so it clicks. Now the temperature sensor is in place, and it's just like OEM down here. So just to show you on the side here, it looks really good. If I swivel it to the left, you can see how it looks, and it fits really well. We have a small gap here, but that's really fine. And going down here, looking at how it looks under here, it's really nice. You wouldn't think twice. If someone got into the car, you would just think that this is OEM. I have to admit, it was a little bit difficult to get to all the places to place all the bolts and screws to fasten the swivel mount, but we made it, and now we can swivel the screen 30 degrees to the left, as well as 30 degrees to the right, and we can also swivel it 15 degrees up and 15 degrees down. And I guess since the screen is a little bit lower than the OEM screen, I think we will point it up a little bit, then we see it better, and if I'm driving on my own, I'll just point it to myself, and that's really neat. You can really see the screen well here. And it's not blocked by the steering wheel from where I sit, so this is really neat. And it's quite stiff, so it's not going anywhere accidentally when I'm touching the screen. It stays in place, but when I want to move it, it's really easy. And it's smooth. So I think this swivel screen can come in handy in many situations. So this was the unboxing and installation of the screen rotation bracket from EvBase. And I really like how it turned out. And if you want your own rotation bracket, please go to evbase.com and before checkout, use the discount code TAGPLOWER and you will get some discount on your purchase. It can be this screen rotation bracket or any other product from EvBase. And you can also get the direct link to this screen rotation bracket in the video description. I really hope you liked this video. And if you indeed liked it, please check out my other content on my channel and please consider subscribing because it really helps my channel grow. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share. See you in my next video.